Until Dawn is one of my favorite horror games from this console of generations, if not one of my favorite horror games of all time. I think maybe, truth be told, I don't really remember what all I put on the favorite games of all time list back when I did it. But regardless, when I heard that the developer was going to be coming out with another butterfly effect, choose your own adventure type horror experience, I had to check it out for myself, which is why we've come together once again to review Man of Medan. Now, there's two main bullet points that I want to skim over before we get into this. Excuse me. The first of which being that I am planning on spoiling the story of this game. Now, for a couple days now, I've been kind of juggling with ideas that would preserve the story for you guys. But the more I thought about it, the more I just said, you know what, I can't do it. I gotta discuss the story of this game. So if you're somebody that has yet to play or beat this game, I strongly encourage you to do so, and then come back and check this video out when you are done. Secondly, I really don't want to compare this too much to Until Dawn. Primarily because I am aware that it is not Until Dawn. It is its own experience. It's a different experience. They tried to do different things, and they just tried to be their own separate thing. So I don't want to constantly compare it to Until Dawn. That being said, I also know myself, and regardless of how much I don't want that to happen, I know it's probably going to happen. It might happen a lot, hopefully not, but I just want to put that out there that I'm probably going to end up comparing this game to its predecessor, so I'm sorry if that upsets any of you watching. As far as the story goes, the game begins post World War II with the ship at port in China. There are some troops there doing a little R&R while others are busy loading up some cargo onto their ship. And this cargo mainly consists of coffins and some crates with like some skulls and crossbones and some very uninviting, unfriendly symbols. Make a note of that because these crates are going to come up a couple times throughout the story. So they get all packed up, they do what they're going to do in China, and assumably they are on their way home. When at some point during their voyage they run into a pretty brutal storm with lightning and waves in the whole 9 yards. And all the commotion, all the turbulence and stuff disrupts whatever is in these mysterious marked crates. And they start spilling this spooky green mist all throughout the ship. So some time goes by, and some of the troops really start to get the feeling that something isn't exactly right. It's one of those situations where nothing immediately comes across as being wrong, but you can just feel it in the air. And after a bit of them snooping around and doing some investigating, they in fact discover that they are not alone on the ship. That there is something lurking in the shadows that eventually ends up killing every living soul on the vessel, thus kind of insinuating that the ship is haunted. Fast forward to present day, and we are introduced to 5 people. First of all, 4 friends. A guy named Conrad, his sister Julie or Julia, her boyfriend Alex, and her and his brother Brad, along with their ship captain Fliss. And they are doing some scuba diving, investigating a mysterious plane crash in the middle of the ocean. So while a couple of them are down investigating the plane crash, looking for clues, trying to figure out what happened to it, the rest of them stayed on board, and everything's going good until some fishermen show up and start causing trouble. The game says they're fishermen, but they're totally pirates. Okay, they're bad guys. Keep that in mind also. Well, the people that stayed on the ship or the boat end up scaring them off, and they're like, okay, that was weird, whatever, and the divers come back up and they're like, what is going on here? And everybody else is like, don't worry about it, we took care of them. And they go about having a happy evening, sitting around on the boat, drinking, having a good time, telling ghost stories, or whatever. And soon, everybody, it's the end of the night, everybody goes to bed. The fishermen / pirates, or I should say the fishermen / pirates, end up coming back and kind of commandeering the vessel, taking everybody hostage and whatever. Supporting the fact that they are pretty bad guys. And the leader or the captain of the pirates somehow or the other stumbles onto mention of, forgive me for butchering this name because I don't necessarily exactly remember what it is, Manchurian or Munchurian gold, one or the other. But yeah, he catches wind of this mention of gold that exists somewhere. And he basically says, take me, I want to see this gold. You're going to take me to exactly where it's supposed to be, and we are going to find it, and we're going to take it. And it just so happens that the coordinates of this gold is right somewhere on the ghost ship from the beginning of the game. Also, if you're thinking, well, why don't they just scare the bad guys off and leave? That's because the leader was also smart enough to take a piece of the boat motor or engine, I forget what it's actually called, but it stops the boat from working properly. Without that piece, they're dead in the water, not going anywhere. So while the pirates are busy scouring the ship to find this mysterious gold, it becomes everybody else's priority to get that piece back for their boat and get out of Dodge, because they immediately have the feeling that something is very, very wrong on the ship. Something happened, and they should not be there. And this is where the game, really kind of kicks off, and then the journey to get this piece back leads them on, a lot of bad things, a lot of horror things, a lot of death, all that good stuff. Well, somewhere along the line, some of the kids, through some investigating and reading notes and discovering things from the crew that was there before them that all died mysteriously, they figure out the truth about what happened on the ship. And the truth is that the gold that these pirates are so enthralled with going after and finding, that's all well and good, except for the fact that they misread some of the information, and the Manchurian gold is a code name for some sort of secret chemical or bio weapon type thing that's being secretly developed in China. And what the troops were doing there after World War II was getting some samples and different materials from these tests and experiments that they were running with it over there, and bringing it back to some secret agency back in the States. Basically kind of a Black Ops mission, if you will. And what they figured out is that prolonged exposure to this weapon causes hallucinations. And they basically conclude that the ghosts that are haunting the ship are nothing more than prolonged exposure to this leaking chemical weapon that's spread throughout the ship. So they actually figure it out, and they say literally everything that we're seeing that is driving us crazy does not exist. It's all because of the weapon. We just need to get out of here to safety and quit, breathing in the gas. We just need to get out, essentially. And that's pretty much what happens. I'm not going to talk about how I played the game or who survives at the end, but they end up getting the piece to the boat and getting out of there. And yeah, that's pretty much the story. So as far as the game itself goes, the gameplay and all of that, this game does something that Until Dawn did not, as far as I know. It's got this really cool multiplayer mode where you and 4 other friends can take control of each character. And they can do that either an online mode, or I think a different mode that's called like movie night or something, where basically you pick the character that you're going to be throughout the game, and you pass the controller around depending on who is on the screen, and the person that picked that character is solely responsible for the decisions that character makes. It's pretty cool. But unfortunately, I don't have 5 friends to play it with, so I played it solo mode by myself. Something also to note about this game is that it is I think it's like a 3 to 4 hour experience, so it's not very long. So it's something, if you are playing with friends, it's pretty easy to sit down and knock out in one sitting, which is kind of cool because if I was to play it with friends, we're all busy because we all work and we all have lives and we're all doing this and that. So it'd be very, very hard to sit down and enjoy a 10 or 12 hour experience together. My initial reaction is much like Until Dawn. I liked the game a lot. But the more I thought about it, because I've beaten the game and I've had a couple days to think about, what I thought and how I would present it in this video, something has been bugging me. And I broke it down. I was asking myself questions like, is it a good game? Yes. Is it a good game for being a 3 to 4 hour experience? Yes. Then why isn't it a perfect 10 for you? And that is what I struggled to try to figure out, and I think I did. I think that there are two things that kind of form why I feel odd about this game. The first reason, I think, is the characters. Because the game is very oddly paced. And I hate to bring up Until Dawn yet again, but I will. See, what I love about, one thing that I love about that game so much is that there are characters that you like, you grow to like, because you get to know them, and you want to keep them alive at all costs. And then there's the characters that you really, really hate right off the bat, and you don't really care whether they live or die. An example of that, for people that know the game really, really well, for me, some people that I liked were Chris and Ashley. Somebody that I hated and immediately wanted to die was Emily. This game didn't really have that for me. I felt very neutral toward all of the characters. Initially when I play these games right off the bat, because of the type of person I am, I'm going to try and keep as many people alive as I can. And just go into it blind, and, if whatever happens is going to happen. If people die, that sucks. But, my main goal is always to keep as many people alive as I can, which I did. But there wasn't anybody that I really wanted to die right away, like Emily and Until Dawn. I felt very neutral about them. Like there was, like, Conrad, for example, is a rich douchebag. His sister is kind of the reckless one. So there's very base characteristics of them that um, but for me that wasn't enough to decide, which side of the fence I wanted to be on as far as each character. And I think the reason for that is the pacing of the game, because there's not really a whole lot of time for us to get to know the characters, for the characters to get to know each other really and interact, before, excuse my French, but before shit really hits the fan, and go tits up. You know, basically the only time that you have to really be introduced to the characters and the only time that they mingle in peace and safety is in the beginning of the game when they're introduced, and after the dive when they're telling the ghost stories. And even then, it's kind of a bare minimum type thing, and just appears to be very, very quick. And then after that, the pirates come and things just go downhill until the end of the game. So I don't really think that there is a good time to really know these characters past the different characteristics that the game gives us, that we know about them. And I thought originally I was going to tear apart the fact that this game wasn't a full experience, that instead of being the 10 or 12 hour game that Until Dawn was, with, a pretty nice build between here are the characters, here's the situation, and we're slowly building to the horrifying climax where people start dying. This doesn't have that build up. It's just here are the characters, here's a little bit, and then we just go straight into it. But I the more I think about it, the more I think that the problem is not the fact that it is a 3 to 4 hour game. For me, that fact is not what ruins these characters for me. I think what really does it is the pacing of the game and the way that everything and everybody is presented. And I've been thinking about how to explain that. And the way that I came up with is, I think the way, I think instead of writing out a solid plot with a solid story and solid characters and then going, how long did it take us? Oh, we were able to tell the story in 3 to 4 hours, maybe 5 at most. Cool, short game, but we have all the story elements there. Instead of being organic like that, it really feels like they were like, we have a 3 to 4 hour time slot for a game. How much story can we fit in this? And it just kind of feels very oddly paced and rushed, and I don't know. But I really feel like this is kind of supported by the other thing that I didn't really care for in the game, especially compared to Until Dawn, and that is the way that we reach the climax of the game and everything is explained. With Until Dawn, because it is a longer game, again, I'm sorry for mentioning Until Dawn so much, but I kind of have to, because this is, really kind of the difference for me. with Until Dawn, it really has this cool kind of bait and switch where you go from, instead of just this masked maniac running around after some people, you realize that is not the only and biggest issue, because we go from that to realizing that there's a whole other story to this game involving the sanitarium and the Wendigos and everything with that. So it's this really nice bait and switch with going, oh wait, here's Josh pulling a practical joke in a clown get up or whatever you choose, but then that in the larger scheme of things doesn't matter, because here's these actual terrifying monsters that will kill you. And Man of Medan didn't really have that. It had a little bit of a bait and switch. Because it kind of really embraces the idea. It wants you to think that the ship itself is actually a ghost ship, and ghosts or evil spirits or demons or whatever are responsible for killing everybody. And then you just kind of nonchalantly, it clicks, and one of the characters goes, oh, this is, there's a leak of this chemical, this weapon, we're breathing it in, we're hallucinating, so we just need to leave. And that's literally how the game pretty much ends. It's really just kind of, once you get to the point, that's the point, and then credits roll. So I think that is, those two factors are what make it not a perfect game for me, the way that I thought Until Dawn was. And like I said, I was going to tear, the length of the game apart, but I don't think that is the issue for it. I think it was just the way that things were paced as far as the story, the way that the characters were presented, the way that the situation was presented, the way everything was written out. I think that's the problem. But at the end of the day, did I like the game? Heck yeah. Would I recommend it? Heck yeah. And remember how I said in the way beginning of this how Man of Medan was doing different things than Until Dawn, and it was its own thing? Well, the reason why I found out, you figured this out at the end of the game after the credits roll. But the reason why this is a 3 to 4 hour game instead of a massive, one and done type story is that it's actually a piece to, a series. The kind of subtitle or surtitle to Man of Medan is the Dark Anthology, implying that this is just one story in a series of other scary stories. And the next one comes out in 2020, and I believe it's called Little Hope. And they play a little trailer for you to get you excited about it, and it is really, really awesome. Once I kind of figured that out, because I was, as soon as I looked at the case and opened up the game and started playing, I was like, what do they mean, Dark Anthology? Well, I'm dumb. I don't know if it was just me or whatever, but I was confused by that. And once I figured it out, I kind of forgave literally every problem I had, because I figured out what they were doing, and I was like, okay, this is different. This is cool. So yeah, I kind of, I'm okay with the parts that I didn't like. I don't think that it should negatively impact the game at all, because it is a very good game. It's a very good story. It's just something different than the game we had before, obviously. But like I said, is it a good game? Absolutely. Would I recommend it? Absolutely. But it's just those two little factors that I talk about that keep it from being a perfect 10. At the end of the day, though, I would give it a solid and very well earned 8 out of 10. I would encourage anybody that hasn't to play this. If you like Until Dawn, you'll probably like this too. I did. Or if you're just somebody that likes horror games where you can or games in general where you can pick and choose how the game plays out based on your choices, this game is for you. And I am so excited for next year, for the next chapter in this dark anthology. So that about wraps this up, guys. That's my review for Man of Medan. So until next time, we'll see you later.